Welcome to the Love and Victory Show with Val, the place to laugh, sip on a little wine, and have open and honest conversation. Here you will find the tools to resolve real life issues. Unwind, pour up a glass, and get ready to exhale. Hello. Welcome to the Love and Victory Show with Val. And today I have a guest, Karen Jubert. Jubert. Okay, I got that right. And we will be discussing surviving stress, burnout, and recovery. Ooh, and again, that's with Karen Jubert. All right, Karen, tell the people a little bit about yourself and what made you come on to the Love and Victory Show with Val's podcast.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you so very much for this wonderful invitation. I think that this conversation is timely. A little bit about myself. So I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor, as well as a national certified counselor. So I work in counseling currently full-time in the university setting, as well as do some support groups in the community.
Wonderful.
And so I have a heart for supporting those who are going through challenges and trying to navigate, how do I make it through these challenging moments? And so I'm here to extend hope and encouragement, empowerment, and just let you know that you're not alone.
Well, it's so timely for this conversation because there is so much going on.
Indeed.
And just a little backstory on Karen. Karen was on the radio show.
That's right.
And she did such an amazing job. I really felt that I needed to bring this back in a more intimate circle for my podcast crew because she's really going to help us through dealing with some of the stresses that we have going on in life, whether you're on your job, whether it's in a relationship. She's going to give us some techniques to deal with things. If we're coming out of a relationship, that's stressful. If you have kids, that's stressful. So we just kind of want to dive in here and we're going to get this conversation going. As you know, Karen, I love to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And in that conversation, I may throw something out there, but in that conversation, or me throwing something out, I truly believe that it helps to open us up to be able to accept change and to hear something from someone else outside of ourselves. Because a lot of times when we're in it by ourselves and we're hurting, we only think our thoughts are we're so wrapped up in our thoughts, we don't see our way out. So sometimes just having a conversation with someone can give you a different perspective. So with that being said, I'm going to ask this question. What should someone do when they have spread themselves too thin? What are some of the things we can do?
So spreading ourselves too thin can come across really easily because we're just in the flow of doing what we do. Mm-hmm. And I always like to I use a lot of analogies, and so I like to relate it to like a bottle of water that has, let's say a bottle of water is 16.9 ounces. And so that bottle of water can contain 16.9 ounces. But if you pour more water in without letting water out, you're going over capacity, right? Wow. And so that's why when you mention about spreading yourself too thin, I think about being over capacity.
Okay, so one have walked in this overcapacity for so long, they don't know that they're spreading themselves thin. What are some of the signs that you know that can trigger you to say, hey, I think I'm getting to that place? Can you give us a couple of signs?
Oh, absolutely. I would say you want to be paying attention to your mind and your body. So with your body, if you're experiencing over stress or tension in your neck and your shoulders, headaches that aren't accounted for, any kind of medical condition, or if you're having digestive problems, aches and pains, and again, you don't have anything to associate with where that may be coming from, it's likely you could be spreading yourself too thin and it's showing up in your body.
Oh my God, you just said a mouthful there, because a lot of times all of the things that you just outlined are things that we kind of take for granted.
Absolutely.
Constipation.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I would have never thought that I'm overextending myself, and being constipated is a sign. So.
Absolutely. Nausea.
Oh.
Also, if you're thinking about your mind, if you're just overthinking about things and you're having trouble making decisions, you're feeling foggy, you're worrying excessively, Your sleep could be interrupted, so you're having difficulty falling asleep, you're having difficulty staying asleep, you're having interrupted sleep. That can be an indication that you're over capacity.
Oh, wow. And one of the things that Karen has been so grateful to do to the Carter Crew community, to this community, she's brought us some items that can help us relax. I don't know. You tell me what some of these items are, and we'll kind of come back after we continue the conversation.
Sure. So I always like to associate with our five senses. Like when we engage our five senses, we're doing things to help bring calm to our mind and to our body, to restore our energy. And so all of us have access to at least one of our five senses: touch, taste, smell, see, and hear. Okay. So some of these things represent that. So smell, here's a candle. Also, this is a diffuser. Fragrance here, so that's for smell. For touch, I have a nice little furry ball here, and it can be used as a stress ball. Also for touch, and also see is just this element here that has some positive, encouraging words on it. I have some water here for taste. I have a book here that says the Little Book of Mindfulness, as well as some mindfulness cards.
What is this? I'm so interested in that.
So this is cinnamon sticks.
Oh my.
Cinnamon sticks.
That's what I'm smelling.
Yes, you're smelling cinnamon.
Oh my God. So that goes back to, wow.
Yeah, and cinnamon represents comfort. So I have cinnamon gum. I don't know if I pulled that out, but I keep little cinnamon candies nearby, because if I'm ever feeling stressed, or if I just need to reset my attitude or anything that I'm facing that's challenging, cinnamon does it for me.
Oh, wow. Okay, guys, so you know what we're getting here now. She's going to get us prepared to kind of deal with some of the stresses, or not really deal with it, but at least be able to manage ourselves through the process.
That's what it's about, because stresses can come to us from any kind of ways. Those are some things we cannot control, but we can control how we face those stresses.
Okay. Alrighty then. How can a person with many obligations take a well-needed break? What do you do?
So that's a great question, because sometimes we are on the go so much that we don't feel like we know we need a break, but it's hard to pause life to take a break. And so what I recommend is to build it in intentionally into your schedule. So if you have children and you have a busy life with coming and going with their activities, and you're working, and so you kind of already know some of the things that you have going on for the week.
Okay.
But sometimes we don't build in some relaxation time or times to pause. So when I mean pause, sometimes we think about taking a break as I need an hour, but really a pause can be 5 minutes.
Okay. You already know where I'm going.
Okay, let's get there.
5 minutes is not going to get me out of the rat race of my life. What can I do, or what would you recommend me doing that I can say, okay, forget the schedule, my schedule's crazy, not worry about the schedule. What can I do, or what would you recommend someone doing? Because if you just say 5 minutes, I know that a person that's a workaholic, or a person that has a schedule that they really have no control, someone that's a single mom with kids, and still have to work and still need to get their kids to all the activities, telling them to take 5 is almost like, where can I find that at? But how could you help them balance out the importance of them taking care of themselves versus right now taking care of others?
Well, I mean, I do encourage moments, because the moments build up to the larger things. So let's say, for instance, your cell phone, you may plug it in and it'll get a little juice, right? And you're charging it, even if you get a little juice. So definitely, like in the evening, if you normally take a shower, take a bath. You know, even in the busyness of a day, and you just zip in the shower and out, but just taking that moment to take a bath is actually it's break time.
Actually, that's really good you say that, because a lot of times I take showers, but when I'm really mentally and physically exhausted, I'll go to the tub. And then, I'll never forget one day my husband came and he's like, you've been in there for an hour, so you're going to turn into a raisin. But literally for me, I didn't even feel like I was in there, but I was so relaxed. I had my wine, I had my... I had
some bubbles, maybe?
I had bubbles, and of course I had my music going, and it just didn't feel that way.
And you mentioned all those things you mentioned are engaging your senses,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Everything that you mentioned incorporated some element of your five senses.
And I feel so much better when I came out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, when you talk about having a busy schedule, using your vacation time if you're working, right? I talk to so many people, they carry over vacation from the current year to the next year. That means that they're not taking time to give themselves a break.
Well, and that is so true, because what I would do is I would take my laptop with me on vacation. And a couple of vacations ago, my husband was so annoyed with me. He said, I thought we were coming here for you to detach yourself from work and we can relax.
Yeah.
Because I found myself going into the room and said, let me check my emails, let me do this. And I really didn't unplug. By the time I finally unplugged, it was time to pack my suitcase and come back. And so I learned from there, I'm not doing it anymore. And I did not take my laptop anymore. So
Good for you.
That's one thing that I would recommend someone doing. When they take their time to take a vacation, take a vacation.
Yeah,
Those
unplugging.
emails will be there.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The technology is a pull to it. Right?
Yes.
And so you do have to disconnect and be very intentional about it. So even if you're at home, I recommend like putting your phone in another room.
Oh, my husband is so good with that. I still struggle. Oh, okay. Help me. Hey, guys, I'm asking the questions that we all need, because he's very good at turning it off. He plugs his phone up in another room. I mean, literally, completely in another room, in the kitchen. And I think probably maybe a couple hours or hour or so, if he gets up, he will get up and only bring it in there because of the alarm, the alarm that he has set on his phone to wake up. I won't take it out of the room, but I claim if I turn the volume down and I turned it upside down, then I'm really unplugged. But I know I'm not, because I'm still listening with another.
Yeah, for notifications.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you're not disconnecting or not detaching or putting it away.
So how could you help me?
Well, the phone is representing something for you. There's a need being met by having the phone there either nearby or having easy access to it. And so if you could think about, well, what need is being met? Is it to be connected? Is to always be in the know? Is to be available and to be reached?
And I think it is, because one, I think of really, in case my mother calls, who is now 87 years young. I have a disabled sister, or even my son. So I think for me, I'm staying connected. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm staying connected for them, but that's still unhealthy. Because if it's something that's really going on, what can I do?
Yeah, in the moment. So just being very intentional. You might have to, it's a habit.
Yes.
So you're trying to break a habit, and the more you do it, you're reconditioning your brain about what the phone represents for you.
Okay.
So because we are habitual, when you're building a new habit, it takes practice and doing it very intentionally. So give it a try. Try, maybe leaving it in the room for 30 minutes. For an hour, or while you have dinner, like over a dedicated time.
Okay.
And then just give some practice with that.
That's actually some very good, it's kind of like winging a baby, right? From the pacifier, right? Is that kind of a little bit like that? We tell the baby, okay, I know you're used to having it, but we need to pull it back just a little bit. So instead of you having it and walking around with it on your neck, we'll give it to you just at the time to get you to go to sleep, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Okay, then. All righty. The next thing I'm going to ask you.
I have a question about
Sure, go ahead.
So, because smartphones are so, I use mine for maps. I use it for, to communicate with family members that might need to get in contact with you. I use it for my alarm. I use it for work. So, how would you suggest somebody, kind of cause that separation when they need their phone?
Well, let's say you mentioned some very specific things, like you use it for an alarm. Well, get an alarm clock. Okay.
You're right. Okay. And we actually have one. I'm going to have to ask my husband why we don't use the one. Well, I know why we don't use the one we have, because it has the most annoying sound. And I couldn't stand it. Okay, so get an alarm clock.
Yeah. Well, that's what'll wake you up and get you out of bed.
That
right?
really,
The annoying sound.
Yeah.
Because with the phone, you can create a pleasant sound,
That's
right?
true.
That you might, what do you do to it when you
snooze it?
Snooze it, yes.
That's
Then you
true.
might snooze it, if it's too pleasant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's probably other things that you can use that we're using the phone for. But you're right, it's a little computer, and we use it for a lot of different things. But maybe there are some other things that that you have access to, that the phone isn't the only thing that you're using.
So could it be that we have someone out here, and not me, of course, someone out here
Of course not.
that's listening to this podcast that are hoping to hear from someone, and so they keep the phone near them with the hope that they are going to hear from that someone, kind of like me with my son. So I'm keeping the phone near me because maybe I want to hear from my son, when in fact, if I hear from him, he'll still be on that voice.
That's right. Yeah. So exactly, you're still going to have access to it, but I think that it's almost we're tethered to the phone, and when something has that much control over you,
Wow,
you
come
want to
on.
be careful.
Say that again. Look into the camera. A, B, C, and D, and say that again. Yes.
Yeah, the phone is like tethered to us, right? And so we feel like we can't do without it, but in reality, we really can. It can have so much control over you that you can't do without it, or you feel like you can't do without it. When in reality, if you reality test that thought, you actually can. That voicemail, we did it before. We did it before the phone was this all-encompassing tool,
Right.
right? So we know that we can do it.
That's really good to hear. And we always talk about nothing controls us. Just hearing this conversation, I'm still allowing other things outside of my own control to control me.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we just learned something. We're going to take some control back here. And before I go into this next question, I'm going to ask that you give us one demonstration that we can do. I'm going to choose one. I'm going to ask her to choose something out of this, the Little Book of Mindfulness. Can you tell me why is this really good, and why would that be helpful for me?
So this is called the Little Book of Mindfulness, and it says 10 minutes a day to less stress, more peace.
Okay.
Okay, so you can literally just open up to any page.
Okay.
Right? You can flip through it.
Okay, give me something.
Okay, so let me open up. Okay.
Something short.
Okay, something short. It says 5 minutes. How are you feeling? Check your breathing. Okay, by observing your breath, you can make such a difference to how you feel. So take a moment to get closer to your breathing, to befriend it. Is it shallow or deep? So you're paying attention to your breath. Is it slow or fast? Smooth or rough? Regular or irregular? Do you tend to push it or hold it?
Okay, that's good right there.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. So what I just got out of that is I just need to pay attention to what my body and how my body is operating in the moment. If I find that I am edgy, if I'm kind of short, snapping off at people, if I'm just panting, pay attention.
Absolutely. So our body speaks to us. And something that I encourage you to do is random times throughout the day, kind of check in with yourself on a scale from 0 to 10 as far as your stress level. 0 being none, 10 being the highest that you can recall feeling.
Okay.
And when you check in with yourself, you want to kind of have a range of what your low, medium, and high is.
Okay.
So if you're in that medium, let's say your low is 0 to 3, your medium is 4 to 6, and your high is 7 to 10. If you're at about a 5 or 6, that's the high part of your medium, you definitely want to be incorporating some kind of coping skill to help calm that energy down.
Okay, so with that being said, for some of us that are untrained, if you were doing an assessment of me right now, where would you find me at?
Well, it's a self-assessment.
Okay, but can you do a clinical assessment?
Oh,
you
good.
are
As far as your stress level, you
Yeah,
mean?
if I'm having anything going on with me right now, could you pick it up? Hey guys, I'm gonna see just how good she is. Okay then.
You want me to rate your stress level right now? Okay.
You gotta put
I'm
on
taking
the
a
spot.
huge guess.
That's okay.
Because I haven't asked you any questions.
Right. Well, ask me
But-
one. I'm okay. I'm
Okay.
very
Well, I'll ask you
transparent.
a question. Give me one word to describe how you're feeling right now. One word.
Excited.
Excited. Okay. So then I would say your stress level is probably around a 3 or 2.
I think you hit it. And I couldn't fool you. So you see what you did, and I don't know if that's from a clinical assessment. We are very good at putting something out there to make it look a certain way.
Yeah.
You didn't give me a high score as if I was really doing it, because I said excited. And that word I was using to trick you. I thought, I like that.
Yeah.
Y'all might need to check her out. She's pretty good. And you're pretty good at what you did. And I don't think that it's a high stress level because I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm not enjoying this interview. I think it's because sometime with everything that we have to hit in the day, at any point in the day, even in the midst of you enjoying something, you can still be a little anxious because you want to make sure that you get it all in. So thank you for really calling it just like it was.
No, well, thank you for allowing us to kind of show that as an example.
Yes. Okay, so give us another exercise before I go on to something else. Would you like for me to pick it? Tell me how this, I just love
the
sticks.
cinnamon?
Yes.
So I keep cinnamon sticks in my office. I keep them at home nearby. So again, I'm checking in with myself.
Okay.
You know, how I'm doing, if I'm feeling a little stressed, and I want to just kind of shift that a little bit, stop focusing on what I'm thinking about or what I'm worrying about or what may be troubling me or all the things that's on my to-do list. I'll just pick up my cinnamon sticks and just smell them.
Oh.
I'll just
Oh, wow.
and then pay attention to, because cinnamon has a little spice to it. So I'm kind of picking up the scents that I'm sensing. There's also some sound with the cinnamon sticks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm hearing the sound of the sticks. I'm looking at, it's
The
in this netting with the red bow, so I'm
texture.
paying attention to the details.
Wow.
So when I focus my energy and attention on the cinnamon sticks, I'm not thinking about
The other
what's
stuff.
worrying me. So it's an interruption.
Wow.
It interrupts whatever it is that's stressing me out, and it helps me to reset and refocus, and then I can go back to whatever I was trying to do before I started
Getting distracted.
getting distracted and going down this rabbit hole, of things that might be stressing
Well,
me out.
I really like this. And even with something that's so simple but so beautiful and could be very good decor in your office, I really like this because it's that simple. You can just place it maybe on your desk, maybe in a little, what do you call those? A little tray.
Yeah, a little tray.
A
yeah.
little tray there. So I like that.
And no one would even know that you're using that as a part of your
relax-
stress relief,
Yeah.
right? Because like you said, it does look decorative on my
Yes,
shelf.
It does.
With the little bow on it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, they probably would notice, you guys probably would notice if I'm sitting around here doing this, you probably would think she is totally stressed out. But it's so pretty that you probably just thought she wanted to just kind of pick up something and just, but it's actually relaxing.
Yeah, it's really soft.
It's soft.
And you would be surprised, most people aren't paying attention to you in that way.
So
Right.
it's all in our heads.
It's all in our own heads. Yeah, absolutely. So people put things in their hands all the time. Sometimes it's a pen. I have a little, a stone here, or these little small little rocks. So no one would really know that that's why you're holding it, to recenter yourself or to calm, any stress down.
I'm glad you went there because I was wondering when she put them rocks up there for her. So because I am one that's always questioning things, I'm starting to see a lot of people kind of really get into stones and rocks and all of that. Are you speaking of this in the same manner, or are you just speaking of this in can a rock really calm you?
So 2 things. One is I have an amethyst gem stone here, and the amethyst, it does also represent stress relief, and so I intentionally chose this color of this gemstone. And so when I have it just sitting on my desk, just looking at it, remember one of my senses is sight for me, just looking at it, it helps to reposition, or shift.
So I went into one of the reason I'm bringing it up, I went into one of these stores in Colorado, and I call it like a stone store. I don't know. They had all kinds of everything. I don't even know what it is. And they were like, oh, okay. I am not saying anything against anybody's belief, religion, or anything. But for someone that's probably a little more skeptical, As they were telling me about all the different stones, it just became to me a little overwhelming, and I wasn't really trusting them, like, oh, whatever. So since you're a professional, can you please tell me, is it really true? Can you really find comfort in these stones?
Yeah, I think that it's a personal thing. Now, the store that you went into, there may be some spiritual practice or, something about an aura, related to certain stones, and I'm not familiar with that part about it.
Thank you.
But I do know that there are elements of things that represent, like even colors represent, like blue represents calmness, where red is like more spicy and more energizing.
Well, blue, I wanted to be calm today, but when y'all see me in my popping red, I'm coming for you that day. So that is what that,
It's just like colors. It can set your mood. That's why people take so much time with how they paint their walls. Right? The colors they use on their wall, it represents a mood.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you think for some people it might be almost like object permanence in a sense? Like if you believe that if you hold on to this rock, that like you can look at that rock and be like, okay, everything's gonna be okay.
I love it. That's what I do with my clients. So this stone has a word on it. It says unwind, but some stones, and I keep a little box of stones on my desk. You can pick a stone and assign whatever meaning that you want it to have. So a stone could have one meaning, like this one says unwind, or you might write on it, it says peace. But then you can have a stone that's blank and you can assign whatever meaning you need in the moment. So if you're grieving and you need some solace, or some comfort, peace of mind, holding the stone, looking at the stone, it may represent something for you. Like some of the stones are rocks that I visited different places and I've taken walks on trails, and then I noticed it and it just like spoke to me I picked it up. And so whenever I look at that stone, it reminds me of being in California walking a natural trail, right? And how invigorating that was and how I challenged myself and I overcame the challenge.
Or if I was on a vacation and at that particular moment, that vacation was so special, I still have this stone and it represents me and my husband really being special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You probably have other things at home that have special meanings to you.
Yes.
And then these are just more personal kinds of things that you give some special attention to.
That was a good question.
Yeah,
very good question. Do you think our culture encourages lifestyle that could lead to burnout?
I do. We talk about in the African American community, hustle culture or grind culture. That you have some people who have multiple businesses, and just different things going on in their lives. Yeah. So I think it goes back to very generationally, right, where our ancestors had to do a lot with a little, right, and so and burnout can set in.
I want to take that a little deeper. Do you think, from a cultural standpoint, in the United States, where there are some countries that really they are not working like we're working?
Oh yeah.
Relaxation, family time, all of those things are very important. Here in the United States, it's all about getting to that wealth. Just keep going.
Yep, keep going, keep working.
Yes.
And that we associate our value with what we produce.
Yes.
Right? And then in order to produce, it takes time. Right?
And so what is a balance? And I know we have to keep this thing a little sharp. I don't want to go too long. But what is a good work week balance time?
Well, that is a loaded question because
I promise you it's not.
Okay.
Society says, well, the normal work week for full time is 36 to 40 hours. 40 hours, okay? But if you are working a salary job, they tend to expect you to stay more, right?
Well, all of my jobs have been salaried. What the expectation is you're getting paid, exactly. You're getting paid one amount to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Right. And so for some, it is going to be more than the 40 hours per week. However, it's up to us to maintain some boundaries around that, right? Even though the pull from the job or your supervisor has his expectations, we are empowered to have some conversations, about that. And so people who I found to be successful in having a little bit more balance, is about setting some boundaries around their time. So like I know some people who, they're supervisors or even team members where they don't answer emails after XYZ time, right? So that's just something that they set a boundary around.
And I think that the reason I asked that question, because I think that's a great way to end this segment of this conversation, because I really want us to deal with the stressors and the burnouts, especially in the workplace, and especially for us women, because we really don't know how. Well, we struggle with setting boundaries. Not that we don't know how, we struggle with it. So asking a question about what's a good way to set the boundaries for professional women, I think just like you said, having that conversation and saying to them, I understand I need to work until the job gets done, but I also need to have time for myself. And
Absolutely.
I'm cutting it off at this time. Is that a...
Yes. Oh, yes. So you're speaking up for yourself
Yes.
with what your needs are. I can remember once upon a time when I was in another career and I was minority of being a woman in a male-dominated career.
Right.
And so when we were there staying late, the guys had no problem staying late.
Right.
But here I am, the only woman in the workplace staying late. Their wives and spouses
Are preparing
are at
dinner
home and
with the
doing all
kids.
those things, right? But here I am, so it was an imbalance, right? And so I did have to speak up for myself.
And you did.
And I did. I
Okay.
did. I had to do that because my health was starting to be impacted. My relationship was started to be impacted.
Well, I think for me, one of the biggest things that I hope that we can pour in on this candid conversation that I wish I would have had early on in my professional career, it's okay to say no. It's okay to choose you over a situation that's making you unhappy or putting you in a place of stress and just that's tearing your body down.
So no is a complete sentence.
That's right.
N-O. It's a complete
Can
sentence.
you
We don't
say
use
that-
it enough.
Can you say that one more time and look into the camera?
No is a complete sentence. So use it well and use it often.
And not worry about how someone is going to view you when you say no.
Yes, everyone is going to always have a perspective about it. And when we set a boundary, it's actually for us. The boundary is not for the other person. So, and when you set a boundary, another person is not going to be happy because they have a need that's not getting met.
Right.
Right? But you're the one that's trying to get some of your needs met.
Okay. Well, if you can look into the camera and either camera 1, 2, or 3, what would you like to leave the people with, and tell them a little bit about you and how can they find you, even though we will have a link down at the end of the podcast.
Absolutely. So the final thoughts I'd like to share with you is that it's okay to acknowledge that you may be stressed sometimes, and then check in with yourself and monitor, how you're doing so that you know how to access your coping skills. And engaging your 5 senses is an awesome way. You don't even have to think about it. Touch, taste, smell, see, or hear is so easy to use one of those methods to try to help to calm your stressors down.
And then how can they find you? Because she has a fantastic practice out here. Go ahead.
So you can reach me at J&J Partners. So the email is jubertpartners@gmail.com. That's JUBERT partners@gmail.com. And our website is jjpartners.org.
Okay. And I absolutely love her. I'm so grateful that Karen was able to come on here and help me reduce some of recover from my stressors, because she's given me some great tools, and I hope you guys take these tools and use them. Just pick them up and implement them in your daily life. But definitely go out and get you some cinnamon sticks. I'm getting, oh God. Oh, wow. Okay, and until next time, we love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so it can be great to just use your 5 senses to help with your stressors. So, for instance, this says breathe in confidence, exhale worry. So you can just have this out on your desk or on your dresser, and it'll be something that you can take a look at and help to calm some of that energy down when you're stressed. And then also for smell, a lovely candle. I actually made this candle myself. I put the fragrances together, and when I smell it, it just rushes away all the stress. So having a candle that can just enhance your sense of smell could be wonderful. I have some cinnamon sticks here. Cinnamon also, when I smell it, it helps to shift my energy, and whatever is stressing me out, I'm just thinking about other things because I'm focusing more on my cinnamon. And then just this little stress ball. It's really just a little fur. It entices your sense of touch. And so whenever you're squeezing it or you're holding it, it's helping to relieve some of your stress because you're focusing more on that. And then I love this little book of mindfulness because I can just open it up and it'll take me to something within 3 to 5 minutes that's going to help me recenter myself, refocus, reset, and recharge.